Welcome to Echoes and Vestiges, a podcast where we deep dive into the narratives that shape our identities and how we can challenge the systems that confine us. Today's episode will seek to answer two of the following questions. One, how can queer individuals reconcile faith and identity in the face of exclusion from their primary groups? And number two, what does resistance look like for queer individuals in patriarchal and religious spaces? Just to preface, the conversation has been around belonging and identity and also being excluded. We have spoken about women within the patriarchal sense, but I want that conversation to include other marginalized groups because it's a patriarchy. Power is concentrated at the top among a few. Let's deep dive into today's conversation. Back in 2019, during the Sudanese Revolution, 22-year-old Ala Salah stood on top of a car. She was dressed in the Sudanese traditional white thobe. She echoed the words of the poet Azari Muhammad Ali, who said, "The bullet does not kill. What kills is the silence of people." Decades later, these words still carry the weight of years of resistance within the country, for everybody within every other space. The bullet does not kill. What kills is the silence of the people. It is our responsibility to put in radical effort to reclaim ourselves. It is our responsibility to move beyond shame, beyond sacrifice, beyond expectations that have been set for us. The only way we can be free as a whole, the only way everybody can move within our society with autonomy and everybody gets to have their own individual sovereignty, is if we go through radical reclamation of ourselves. Especially for women and marginalized groups, we have to go through radical reclamation of the self. We have to know who we are, what our role is, how much power and control we have despite being told that we do not have any. As women, we have to let go with the obsession of obedience. Growing up, there was always this conditioning to be obedient to your parents, your elders, and this transferred to marriage. You have to be obedient to your husbands. This blind obedience to whoever holds power within the relationship you are in is holding us back as women from being ourselves, from us having our worth centered around the patriarchal heads of our communities and our families. So Nangaming Masaka is a Kenyan communication expert who is working within the spaces of personal and professional development. She once said women have been taught to have identities outside of themselves. Motherhood, wives, daughters. If you were asked right now as a woman what your identity is, what would you use to define yourself? For women, we are the biggest educators in our societies. We get to teach the next generation in even these roles of motherhood and being wives and being daughters in the family. So much responsibility that is put on us since our childhood. There's so much leadership skills that we get to process through our childhoods. It is time for us to embrace self-mastery and stand tall in the power that we have. We need to be sure of ourselves, our self-identity, our self-image, and it is our imperative duty we do that for ourselves and the next generation. Another thing that women have to be really cognizant and aware of is that having a familial relation to someone does not mean you have to be obligated to them. This means that for most of us, we have to figure out how to navigate relationships with our family units, especially when they do not serve us. Women are in family dynamics that are very abusive, be it financial or in labor. Women are expected to do the work around the home, to during parties and family gatherings, even on vacation. A woman is never on vacation because you will always find women in the kitchen cooking, cleaning, nurturing, and doing all this work for everybody. We have to look at the relationships dynamics that we're in and seek to improve those and change the narratives within this dynamics. Another thing is the focus on longing for belonging. I know our identities are a key part. Our communities, our culture, our religion is one of the biggest forms of identity for us. But when we seek to belong to a group and deviate a little bit from the foundations of the group, when we do not fulfill the expectations of what the group has set out for us, that means we are not fully at home. It's okay not to feel at home with the people you've grown up with, in the community that you've been part of, because home is internal. Home was never about a certain structure or a certain family. Home is all about you. There's this exercise I remember called homecoming. I will try to give credit later on. This exercise was a meditation breathing exercise where you would be told to close your eyes and imagine that you were walking a very deserted area. Imagine yourself in the middle of a mountain somewhere and it's snowing, it's cold, you're frozen, and you've been walking for hours trying to get home, trying to find shelter. You are lost, and you walk and walk, and when you're about to give up, you see smoke from a distance and you know for a fact that is shelter. So you walk towards that shelter and you find this cabin, and it looks warm inside and inviting. Just as you're about to climb the steps to knock on the door, if you're a girl, here comes a little girl. If you're a boy, here comes a little boy. And looking at them, you realize that is you at 10 years old, you at 11, or you at 5, excited, clapping, welcoming, and telling you that we've been waiting. We are excited that you're finally here. You're shocked. You wonder, who? I know you have my face. I know you look like me, but like, who are you talking about? And when this little girl opens the door, you walk in, you find a room full of people. When you look at them, it's you in every year of your life, you in every version, every birthday that existed. So imagine the 6-year-old you carrying 3-year-old you, 70-year-old you chatting with 50-year-old you, 30-year-old you talking about their life and their adventures to 40-something-year-old you. There's all these multiple versions of you within that same room, and it feels overwhelming and it feels crazy, and you're like, what is happening? Why are you all here? You're welcomed, you get sat down and given a warm bowl of food and something warm to drink to thaw out the cold. And the matriarch sits and tells you, welcome, we've been excited to see you. We're so happy you're finally here. Tell us about your adventures. Tell us about your life. So imagine, for me, I'm 29 and I sit as a 29-year-old and tell every version of me all the adventures I've had this year. This was symbolic of the fact that in every phase of your life, you go through so many challenges, so many things that are very defining for you in that year. This is to show that you have to push through everything that happens. You have to push through all the struggles, the challenges, and the doubt. You have to be in this form of self-improvement and growth. You know you've yet to got into your final form. There's multiple versions of you that exist in the future. They are excited, clapping, so happy that you're finally home. So this was an exercise on homecoming where you get to sit with different parts of yourself, encourage yourself, get to know yourself, and get to know every adventure that everybody has gone through. This reinforces that fact, that aspect of thought where home is not somebody, home is not your mother, home is not your parents, your sibling, not the house you grew up in. Home is internal. You always have to come back home to yourself. For a lot of people, they've grown up in such traumatic childhoods, such traumatic backgrounds, where you've never truly felt like you belonged with the families you are part of. So this is an exercise for you to sit with yourself, get to know yourself, and come home to yourself. Because you do live with community, you have a sense of shared identity with the community. But at the end of the day, you are true to yourself first. There are so many things about you that you never say to another person because you know what your truth is, and there's nobody who could ever distort that version of truth for you. So home is internal. Another thing that women and other marginalized groups can really focus on is creating coping strategies for self-preservation, because women and queer people have to reclaim autonomy and joy outside of the prescribed roles that they've grown up with or grown up around. I know saying coping strategy is bad, but with the system right now, you have to figure out ways on how to be resilient. You have to figure out a way to exist in spite of everything that is going on around you. It is our job to self-preserve. It is our job to reclaim autonomy. It is our job to reclaim joy. We have to do it loudly, because the challenge is a lot of us are doing all these things in closed spaces, enclosed. We have to occupy spaces, but also practice safety as you occupy. Imagine a young girl somewhere who thinks she's the first in her family to be going through issues, or she's the first to want something, and everybody within the patriarchal community is telling her, no, girls, don't do this is not our culture, this is not our tradition. And there you are, existing somewhere who has done whatever this young girl wants. It is our role to go out there and showcase what it is that we're doing. Sometimes we might not be masters yet, but the effort and the time you put into creating that is what is important. So go ahead, live loudly, be the best role model you can for the young girls within your community. Mentor some of them if you have the time. Talk to them and live in radical joy. Accept different parts of yourself because it is imperative that you do so. I want to share some quotes from an amazing human being I got to ask about her relationship with religion and being queer. I know for most Muslims, people will denounce the fact that they're queer. People who are Muslim will say, as a queer person, you have no place in the religion, you should step out of it. But this is the thing. You are not the one to decide whether someone continues being a Muslim or not. You're not the one to decide who gets to embrace Islam. You're not the one who gets to decide what version of Muslims should exist out there. The question was, have there been moments where you felt a deep conflict between your faith and your identity? And this was her response. Yes, of course, since my queerness is something so intrinsic to me, it's hard to believe that I have to give it up to go to heaven. Because of this, I have questioned myself, but I'm still Muslim and I believe in Allah's mercy. Another question asked was, what parts of Islam bring you comfort in your journey and what parts have been difficult for you to reconcile with? Her answer, my mercy prevails my wrath. This is a verse in the Quran. My mercy prevails my wrath will always comfort me and make me think that there's hope. However, some people who preach that there's no hope for us or there's no validation for us tend to push me away. One narrative that I would love to change is that as Muslims and queer people, we are a minority. We aren't. We only hide because it is safe to hide. And this is the struggle a lot of queer Muslims go through. This is the struggle a lot of queer people go through in spaces of religion or rigid conservative cultural practices. This is a message to my queer Muslim sisters, or even my queer Muslim brothers. If there's anyone who would resonate with this is the message for you. As a queer person, you have to redefine success and failure beyond the expectations that have been set by your family, your culture, and your religion. A lot of us grow up thinking that you have to be strong, you have to be perfect, you have to be the best because you are an ambassador of the Ummah, or you get to show people like what Muslims are. But that creates unnecessary pressure on yourself because this desire to always be the best will just leave you drained and burnt out. You do not have to tie your worth to how good you are in school or how good of a work employee you are, how good of a daughter or son or brother, whatever. You do not have to do all these things to be seen as worthy. Your worth is not tied to what you can do for others or how you can relate to others. Your worth is not tied to what you're doing for your community or your people. Even when you don't do anything, you should be worthy in your community. And I think that's one of the things that we should really sit down and dismantle, that our worth is tied to how productive we are. So number 2, you have to redefine faith on your own terms. Please understand that your relationship with religion or faith is personal. Faith is very metaphysical. We do not see God. We do not see religion. We do not see belief. We do not see iman. All of this is metaphysical. Metaphysical means it's that plane of existence that is not visible with the eyes. So understand that Islam is very vast. It's very big. Is not a one size fits all because we have so many sects existing right now, as is diverse interpretations of religious texts or hadiths. There's so many interpretations depending on the culture, the scholars, the leaderships that we have. There's so many interpretations of what it means to be Muslim, what it means to be a human being. So my suggestion is find an interpretation that fits and aligns with your values. Find an interpretation that is comfortable because You have to go down the path of learning religion for yourself, not because your mother told you, not because your father was enforcing it. You have to go through the path of faith and figure out if it is what you want for yourself or if those values no longer align. And I know there's the fear of death in some communities because a lot of conservative Muslim communities are very strict. So make sure whatever you're doing, you are safe. Just know that we exist within communities that they lack accountability in terms of the harm caused with some of the people in power. You reclaiming your power back is choosing to practice the faith in the way that fits you, in the way that works for you, because that's your relationship with the Creator. So seek scholars, look for texts for communities that affirm your existence within the faith rather than erases you, because there's a lot of erasure of exclusion that occurs when it comes to the conversation and the history around queer people in Islam. So number 3, protect your mental and emotional well-being. You have to set boundaries, especially with those who cause you harm, even if they are family members or religious leaders. In some cultures, there's conversion therapy. People will take you to institutions and go through this rigorous routine that is supposed to expel the gay out of you. You have to set boundaries with people. You have to make sure that you are safe. You have to make sure that your environment is safe. You have to look for ways to survive, be resilient, and be really strong. You have to prioritize self-care because nobody is going to take care of you the way you would take care of yourself. It's really hard mentally and emotionally take care of yourself because it is important. You can just do journaling, therapy, or create spiritual practices that align with you. So you can go on a path of rediscovering what indigenous or traditional forms of religion were for you. Just look for spiritual practices that feel nurturing and affirming for you. Number 4, find and build spaces of connection with others who you align values with. For someone who is queer, connect with queer-friendly Muslims, either online or in person if you know any. Always practice safety. Safety is of key priority. Look up organizations that support LGBTQ Muslims. Look for people who have walked down this path before you. Seek guidance, seek help, and trust yourself. Intuition is everything. Trust yourself. Do not blindly put all your trust in someone, because a lot of people who are coming from traumatic backgrounds, or for people who did not get the healing and the love that they deserved from their familial environments, end up seeking mother figures and father figures in everybody that they encounter. So please be safe. Do not do that. Always seek the person inside of you to be that nurturing person for you. But look for people who are walking the path as you are. Look for people who have gone through the same experiences you are, to save you from mistakes, to save you from really harmful and very dangerous situations. Look out for people who have gone down the path that you are trying to go down on, the path that you are trying to walk, so that they can give you guidance and be with you in solidarity. Number 5, you have to cultivate a chosen family, especially if you are somebody who has come out and have shared your truth with the world, your immediate community or your family, and they have excluded you, casted you out of the family unit. If your biological family is not supportive of who you are, look for friends, look for mentors who can affirm your identity, and people who can help you figure out what to do next. Build relationships rooted in love. Build relationships rooted in respect and shared experiences. Friendships are the next best thing that you can have when it comes to healing and to thrive in this world. A lot of us desire to have a closeness with our immediate families because they were the first sense of connection and first sense of belonging. But sometimes it happens that you are not as close as you want with your immediate family, and that's okay. This is the time you go out of yourself and seek friendships which are based on reciprocity. You seek for friendships that will nurture you and be a source of calm, peace, and guidance, and at the same time do the same for others. Do not be the kind of person who just takes and does not reciprocate. Look for people who celebrate you loudly. Look for people who clap for you, for people who wish you well, for people who will go the extra mile for you. And as always, reciprocate. Number 6, you have to challenge the internal voices in your head. For most women, there's always internalized shame. There's this narrative, everything is a punishment, a test, a burden. You have to understand that your queerness is not a test. It is not a burden. It is not a phase. It is not a rebellion. No, you choosing to be who you are is you just simply existing, because we are alive. We are existing. So you deciding to go down whatever path it is that you're going, it's not a test. It is just life. And this is where you are, and you have to navigate this new reality that is yours. You have to always move in a way that is safe. So even when you do come out to your family members, just make sure that you are safe and you are not in a dangerous situation. You have to break down the concept of shame that you've grown up with, that you've been fed all your life. And if coming out is not safe, if telling people that you're queer within your immediate community is not safe, protect yourself. You do not have to come out. You do not have to tell anyone anything. Your well-being is more important than you having to prove anything to anyone. You can just keep it to yourself, keep aspects of your identity private while you put in the efforts to look for opportunities and for ways you can gain long-term security and long-term safety. You need to be financially and socially wealthy for you to navigate life without having hurdles. So focus on those and make sure that you are safe. And the most important of all, radical joy as resistance. You have to use radical joy as resistance. Your existence is a resistance of its own. You choosing not to leave this world. Resistance does not have to be loud. You do not have to go and shout, scream, and constantly being in the public eye. Resistance is also you living and choosing to be authentic, choosing to be happy, especially in a space where people tell you do not deserve happiness because of being queer. You have to choose yourself, even when you're not allowed to. If you choose to go down the path of engaging in activism, if you choose to share stories with people, get a pseudonym, hide your identity, do not let people know who you are, but use your voice in whatever way you can. Engage in a way that is safe. You can choose to do storytelling, to write, to do art. You can choose to support your friends who are already doing the work. That is part of your contribution to the cause. It's part of your contribution to everybody that comes after you who is queer and from a conservative religious background. This responsibility for advocacy is not just for people who are facing the struggle. So as a woman, you should be the only one advocating for free period products, or the only one advocating for an end to gender-based violence. Or if you're a person living with a disability, you should not be the only one at the forefront fighting for accessibility and inclusion. We have to collectively fight for each other. We have to collectively fight for the right for everybody to exist. No one deserves to be harmed or to be excluded. Every human being has the right to dignity and safety in this world. Remember, none of us are safe until all of us are safe. If the most vulnerable in your community or the most vulnerable in your population is hurt by the oppression and the oppressing machine is done with them, you are next on the list. We are not free until all of us are free. Many faiths, many religions center their teachings around kindness, around justice, standing against oppression. Jihad is essentially a fight oppression. And there's so many things. If we're people who truly believe in such values, we must ensure that there's no one in our communities that is harmed, no matter how we feel it's wrong, no matter how we feel like this is un-Islamic or this is wrong, no matter whatever your beliefs are. If you're standing against oppression, that means you are excluded from oppressing another person. So you must ensure that nobody is harmed. Our society, for it to be just, for it to be kind, for it to be good for everyone, we must believe in safety and fairness for all. We should not extend fairness to one person, or should not extend justice to one group and exclude another. Everybody must be safe and everybody must exist comfortably within the communities that we are part of. You have to sit with yourself. You have to sit and challenge all the ideas that you have around queerness. Whenever people say that queerness is an African or queerness is an Islamic, sit and look for books and read about the golden age of Islam, the existence of a lot of scholars who discuss the topics of sexuality and gender expression in very nuanced ways. Look at African traditional societies where we did have the existence of queer people. We had our own names for such people. They existed and they were part of the communities. There are indigenous communities, the Native Americans, who still revere and uphold people who embody both energy, and these are called the two-spirit people. Look at the Hijras in India and Pakistan. They are still resisting and existing right now. They are part of the culture because they choose not to be erased. A lot of them had to lose their lives for us to see this embodiment, for us to see this group of people right now and be like, this existed pre-colonial times. So challenge your ideas, challenge every narrative that you hold, challenge every belief. Always ask yourself, why do I think like this? Why do I view life like this? Why do I see any of these things like this? So I want to leave you with the following. Number one, power will forever shape and control every social institution you are part of. Power controls your home, your family, your school. Power controls political, economic, social structures. You choose where you invest your power in. Are you sacrificing your power, or are you choosing to withhold your power and choose where to feed it? And you have to choose where you want to put your power in. Maybe faith will evolve and embrace queer people. But in the meantime, queer people will redefine what faith means for themselves. Number two, always remember that queerness is a challenge to the rigid structures. Queerness disrupts the rigid systems that exist, the systems of the patriarchy, the systems of heteronormative, only a man and a woman marry each other, the systems of religious orthodoxy where religion is the one to tell you who you can love, who you can be with, what your identity is and what your space of belonging is. Queerness rejects the binaries of the male and the female, and it expands the possibilities of what we can be. This is not a rebellion. This is more of a liberation. And I think the more we have different versions and different ideas of what we can truly get to be in this world, the more expansive our brains become, the more expansive our experiences on this earth become. It's always about the expansion, and queer people do contribute a lot to that. If you're open-minded, you can definitely learn a lot from the movement, the communities, and the people who belong to these communities. Lastly, healing is a means for us to reclaim our power, whether it's within the religious spaces, whether it's within our family units, whether it's within our communities, and even in the communities outside of our own. For some queer people, they have chosen to reshape faith from within the community. We have the Imam from Cape Town, the first openly gay Imam who was killed in South Africa, Imam Mohsin Hendricks. Like, he chose to be the guiding light for the community within the community. For this, there was a target that was put on him, and unfortunately, he ended up passing away. He was gunned down. This is the reality of a lot of queer people who choose to go against the systems, choose to be open, expressive, and seek joy in the world. This is the reality for a lot of people, and that's why we stress upon safety. Safety is of importance to everyone too. But at the end of the day, he still died a martyr, because everybody who comes after will always look up his name, look at his teachings, hear what he had to say for the community, what he stood up for, and what he was telling people within the community. He will forever be the person in the community people look up to for queer and non-queer Muslims, because his teachings were not just for queer people only. He taught patience, kindness, compassion. He taught people how to rebuild relationship with the Creator, with your identity intact. And for other people, they do choose to build new spiritual paths. They go outside of the folds of the religion because the pressure is too much, or it's easier for them to separate the identity from the community because it's just safe, and that is important. Safety is the most important thing you can ever consider. Make sure you are safe in whatever situation you're in. Either way, healing allows for us to shed away the shame that we've grown up with. It allows for us to embrace self-worth. to redefine what belonging means on our own terms rather than the terms of the communities we have grown in and we are part of. Thank you so much for being part of this journey. It was amazing to have you on board, and I hope we can get to meet some other time.